we are 5th and 8th on the grid. Mawson's 5th, Falcaro's 8th, which is a lot better. They're a lot closer than they have been in the previous 3 races that we've had this season. But Pedro Piquet out in front, I don't think anyone's going to be able to catch him. But maybe I might nail race strategy this time. Who knows? Hey everyone, welcome to Season 1, Episode 8 of Race to the Top. I'm Ian. In today's episode, we do have the Dubai Grand Prix in blistering heat, sun beating down. We are sitting 5th and 8th. I'm quite happy with that. We do have race trim for both our cars, but we don't have anything for the tyres, unfortunately. I just couldn't do anything there in the practice sessions. But what we are going to try and do is we are going to start them on the soft tyres, I think, because we're just going to play that slow game. I tell you what, I'm actually going to mix this up, actually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep Mawson on the super softs, and then he'll go onto the softs after, let's say, 20 laps or so. For a couple of reasons, because what I intend on doing is splitting the 2 strategies so that they don't have to come in and pit at the same time because they're so close together on the grid. And what I'll do is I'm going to put Falcaro on the softs because as the track starts gripping up towards the end, the super softs will become quicker and quicker and quicker. But Mawson hasn't got a very good overtaking rating, whereas Falcaro's got a fantastic overtaking rating. So he might drop down the field a little bit at the start of the race, but then the race should come back to him towards the end because he'll be able to be on the super soft tyres, he'll be going super quickly, he'll have a lot of track grip, and hopefully he can pick up a few places. That's the idea. Knowing me, I probably nosed it right up because I stuffed up Falcaro's strategy in the Black Sea Grand Prix. If anyone was watching that thoroughly, you'll realise that I screwed that right up. But to today's grid, then we got Pedro Piquet on pole with Ralph Aaron up in 2nd place, a very good finish for him. Rail Hyman 3rd with Mick Schumacher for company on the 2nd row. Joey Mawson there he is in 5th with Jan Mardenborough right at the death, setting 6th quickest time in qualifying. Daravala in 7th with Falcaro next to him in 8th. On the 5th row, we've got Mikkel Jensen and Alexander Sims in 10th. Maximilian Gunther, who's been doing very well but did very poorly last week, he's in 11th with Joel Eriksson in 12th. Ryan Tavetta, who won the race last in the Black Sea, he's 13th with Sato in 14th. Harrison Newey 15th with Lando Norris for company next to him. Then you've got Daniel Ticktum, Sasahara right at the back of the grid yet again with Alex Palau in 19th and Makino for High Tech GP in 20th position. So it is a very, very hot, dry... It's not really surprising. It is in Dubai. Hot, dry conditions, and we will see how they go as it's lights out. It's a great start from Falcaro. Mawson didn't do too badly, but Piquet still leading the way going into that first corner. I don't know if you can see him that well. And then it's Aaron, Hyman, Schumacher, Mawson, Mardenborough. Falcaro is moving up the field, though, in those soft tyres, and he is sitting right next to Mawson. Can he get past them? This is an incredible start. And then we're followed by Falcaro. It's Mardenborough, then Sims who's moved up, Daravala, Tavetta as they're all fighting away there. Mawson moves up to 3rd, Falcaro's 5th as Hyman has squeezed in between the two of them. It's quite difficult to see because of the very, very similar colours, but Aaron doing very, very well in 2nd place. So it's Mawson in 3rd, Hyman in 4th, Falcaro in 5th, and Schumacher in 6th. And we are going to start bumping these guys down a little bit now. We want these tyres to last, remember. And it's because of the hot conditions, I don't want them to overheat these tyres too much. So we can start backing them off. But Mawson in 4th, Falcaro in 6th. Schumacher's not quite out of the frame yet, as you can see, because he's coming back on Mawson, and they're starting to lose a bit of time to Hyman, Aaron, and Piquet up the front. There's a big gap. Mawson seems to be holding absolutely everyone up, and Schumacher has made it through, and Mawson drops down into 5th, but there's still a huge gaggle of cars as Falcaro he's losing positions as well, and he's dropped down into 9th position, but he's on the soft tyres. Tavetta, as you can see, expect him to start sliding down as well. You can see the people in the softs are moving up towards the front. That's to be expected because the super soft tyres is a lot quicker, so expect them to try and pull a bit away. So Falcaro being in 10th on the soft tyres, I'm quite happy with that. But Mawson sitting in 5th place, he's got all these cars right behind him. I don't know how well you can see them, and I'll have to zoom in quite a lot because the black surface on this circuit is very difficult to see some of these darker cars like Daravala there in the blue, and then the black cars of Ericsson and Piquet way out in front. So, what can we do? Oh, you'll have to forgive me for that. I got a giant notification then that I was running out of disk space, so I thought, oh, I better pause this. So the race is still going on, don't worry. So if there was a bit of a weird edit there, it's because I had to pause the game and then go and delete some stuff. But where are we? Let's focus on what we should be focusing on here. With Mawson in 5th place, Falcaro is slipping a little bit here. He's down into 12th now on those softs, but he just can't seem to get away from all these cars, can he? But I'm keeping an eye on the tyre wear as well, because remember, I want them to stretch out this tyre wear as much as possible. As you can see, like looking at the tyre wear there, Mawson's not doing too badly on the super softs. He hasn't got as much wear as the others. Whereas Falcaro just keeps slipping back, and he's actually starting to complain about vibrations, but it all looks good on here. So hopefully he doesn't drop too far back, because I know I said this at the start, being on the soft tyres, he's going to lose a bit of time, and the race is going to come back to him towards the end when we put him onto the super soft. But I'm like people like Jensen and Tavetta, they're starting to pull a little bit away from him, and they're also on the soft tyres as well. So they're the sort of people that we have to keep an eye on. We want Falcaro to keep in touch with them. But you've got like Palau, who's losing a little bit of time to Falcaro, but not too much. Mawson, meanwhile, has got Daravala for company right behind him as he's starting to drift off a little bit from Schumacher in 4th place, but behind Daravala there's a huge gap before Ericsson, and then Martin, Rotavetta, Tickton and Jensen. So at the moment I'm happy with where we are. Mawson in 5th place, I'm not too disappointed about that. As you can see, Sims has just overtaken Jensen now, so Jensen is right in front of Falcaro in 12th place, and there's Falcaro right behind Jensen there. So if we can overtake Jensen, then that puts us in a good position, because then we're only behind Tavetta on the softs, because they're who we're battling with at the moment. Let the race come to us. We don't want to worry about how far behind we are from PK or even Mawson, because they're on different race strategies. But with Falcaro being with all these 4 cars here, they're really battling hard, and Palau is slowly starting to join. Look at all the train of cars. There is a bit of a truly train there. Who is that? I think that's Tickton that's holding everyone up. And I'm a little bit concerned as Mawson's starting to pull away from Daravala now in 5th place, and he's starting to close up on Schumacher a little bit, and I'm going to have to back him off on the tyre wear. Same with Falcaro as well, because I don't want their tyre wear to get their tyre temperature to get too high, because then we're going to have to start pitting them a lot earlier than we would want. So we can relax a little bit now. This is the bit where you can just sort of relax and think, have a sort of a bird's eye view of everything and just make some decisions. Because if you ever look at PK, if you look on the minimap, PK is stretching out in front there. He's got a 4.5 second lead over Aaron. That was to be expected, because he just carved it up in practice and in qualifying. First place is out of our reach. Aaron, I'm quite surprised about. Aaron in 2nd place, because he's not been doing that well. I don't sort of study them that well, study the race results that thoroughly. But Aaron's not the best driver. He's usually sort of, in the mid pack, maybe even towards the back a little bit, and he's up in 2nd. So either the team that he's racing for has just suddenly started blitzing it, or he's just, this just suits him. This circuit just suits him. But I'm not too concerned about him either, because look, Mawson's 7.9 seconds behind PK, but he's only 2.5 seconds behind Aaron in 2nd place. So we could still get a podium out of this. What I'm worried about though is, because now you can start to see as we're watching Mawson going around, you got Daravala, you got Ericsson, they're starting to close in on Mawson a little bit. I am trying to conserve fuel and conserve my tyres as well, but at the same time I don't want them to start pushing Mawson too much, because then he's going to start burning through his tyres quicker. Falcaro, if you have a look at his tyre wear compared to, say, Jensen, and then you got Palau behind him, Falcaro's doing not too badly. Palau's got slightly better tyre wear, but Jensen, it has just blipped down now. Jensen's was actually a lot worse than Falcaro, so Falcaro can stretch out an extra lap. Then he can go onto the super softs 1 lap later and really start to set some times. And we've got to keep an eye on, say, Tavetta and Jensen. We've got to keep an eye on their lap times, because we obviously don't want Falcaro to fall too far behind. That was my mistake in the Black Sea, because I pitted him too early, and it was only the luck of the safety car that he managed to actually stay out right to the death, because if I pitted him again, then it would have been a disaster. He wouldn't have even got in the points at all. But Daravala's having a little go here at Mawson, because Mawson's starting to hold some of these guys up a little bit as we've just gone to parity on fuel for both cars, but I'm keeping an eye on that tyre wear because Mawson's actually not doing too badly on the tyre wear. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bump him up just one little notch, just so he can build a bit of a gap over Daruvala, because he's only got like an eighth of a second. What's it, eighth tenth? 8/10. That's it. I got it out eventually, didn't I? I'm struggling. How do I stuff this up so much? I don't know, because I'm a pretty big motorsport fan, and I stumble over my words a lot. Maybe it's the nerves of you guys watching. But anyway, so Mawson's starting to pull away a little bit over Daruvala. No, he's actually, I take that back. Daruvala's closing down a lot because Daruvala must be really pushing hard, but he's not. See, there you go. If you look, he's not pushing as hard as Mawson. And so that's a concern for me. So we need to hold on to 5th place as much as we can. Falcaro, he seems to be quite settled down in 13th. He's got a bit of a lead. He's got, what's that, 1.8 seconds, nearly 2 seconds. He's actually pulling away by the looks of things from Palau a little bit. So I'm quite happy with that. And he's keeping up with Jensen in 12th. And we can remember, Jensen's on the same strategy, so is Palau by the looks of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to back up Mawson once more, because Daruvala's going to have another look. He's going to have another look, but he's going to have to back off. If you look at the tyre wear of Daruvala, look how much he's burning into his tyres. So Daruvala's going to have to pit first, and he's going to go onto the softs. So it'll have to last him the rest of the race. Whereas Mawson, he can stay out that lap, maybe even 2 laps longer, and he's in a better position because he can come out onto the softs and really start to burn them up a little bit. But we have to be mindful of the undercut as always. We'll have a quick flick back to Falcaro. Let's see how he's getting on, as his pace is still not too bad. He's quite consistent there with his times. He's actually improving his lap times all the time. And he's closing right down on Jensen. He's always within that second of Jensen. So if we can get him, then we're looking quite good. One person that I am keeping a very careful watch on is Tveta in 9th place, and he's on the softs. Now remember, he won the race last month in the Black Sea, and he did it on the softs. We were on the quicker tyre right at the end, but he was pulling away from us, and he's actually he's improving all the time because Tictum is closing in a little bit. You got Sims behind him. They're on super soft tyres and they're not doing anything. They can't seem to catch up to him. So watch for Tveta, because his race, he's on a similar strategy to Falcaro, where he's going to pit onto the super softs and then he's going to be absolutely flying and hopefully overtaking many people. Meanwhile, Mawson has started to build a bit of a lead yet again. He's got 8/10 up over Daruvala. He's actually closing in a little bit on Schumacher as well, which is quite promising, because if he can keep up with Schumacher, and Prima Power Team are a good team despite being behind us in the championship, but that's, it's because of me, clearly. You got Falcaro. What's he doing? Let's quickly cut back to Falcaro. Again, Falcaro, he's maintaining that sort of second gap between Jensen in 12th and Falcaro himself in 13th. Whereas, as you can see, Palau has started to fall right off. He's 3.5 seconds behind Falcaro now. But this is where we start getting into the time where we're probably about 4 or 5 laps away from seeing the people on the super soft starting to pit. So you've got people like PK, who's got an 8.7 second lead. Aaron's not that much further ahead, really. He's got a bit of a lead, 2 seconds over Hyman in 3rd. Schumacher's a 1.5 seconds behind Hyman. There he is there. And then, of course, you've got Mawson, who is slowly starting to fall away once more. What I'll do is I will just bump their engine mode up a little bit on Mawson, because we need to capitalise on these super softs. And I'm going to keep Falcaro. I'm going to keep him on the conserving fuel, so that when we go onto the super soft, he's going to need to start overtaking people. And for that reason, we can put him onto slightly higher engine mode, which will hopefully benefit him in the long run. But who looks like first to pit? Keep an eye on Hyman then. Hyman looks like he's probably going to be the first one to pit, because his tyre wear is starting to fall right away. Mawson's got very good tyre wear compared to everyone else. So that is really promising for us. And there you go. You can actually just see Hyman there. So that little green circle with the sort of the charcoal coloured square in it, that means he's pitting. So he's going to be pitting first. So this will be really interesting to see his strategy. He's most likely going to go onto the softs. I think that's pretty much what everyone's going to do. But this will allow Mawson to hopefully... There goes Mawson there. Now Mawson needs to start pushing that little bit harder now. We need to make sure that when we come in to pit for our softs, that we've closed that gap on Hyman. I didn't actually see how big that gap was, but it'll be very, very interesting. So Hyman's come out in 14th place at the moment, and he has got fresh softs. So he's going to be the one to watch to see how quickly his lap times are, how quickly he's going around, as to whether we should start looking at pitting ourselves. But at the moment, Mawson's bumped up into 3rd then. There's been a couple. Mardenborough and Sims have also pitted, and Schumacher comes into the pit lane as well, so we can really start pushing things a little bit hard. I'm going to back off Mawson as he moves up into 2nd, but his fuel is in the deficit, so I've got to be mindful of that. And do we pit him now? I think we might do, because as you can see, his tyre wear's at 28%. We don't want it to drop too much, otherwise this advantage of conserving these super soft tyres will be completely wasted. So I say 27%. I say we go around one more time. And then we pit Mawson. Falcaro has bumped up into 6th, but that race will come to him. So now that Mawson's on this lap, we'll get onto him. Righto, pit. Let's see what we can do. We want him to go onto the soft tyres. Keep a look on his park conditions. I'm happy with all of them, and we want a fast pit stop. So what we're going to do, let's burn through these tyres now. We want a hard lap as fast as you can. Burn them. We don't care about these. Get rid of them. We want you to go as hard as you can to benefit from pitting a fraction later than everyone else. Does this help us? Let's just find out, shall we? Well, actually, what I'll do is I'll rotate around this way so that we can see the pit stop. We can see him going into the pit lane and coming out. Falcaro, he's not doing too badly. He's still 8/10 down from Jensen. And let's have a look. Joey Mawson. So we're right at the front because we are leading the championship. What can he do? Is it a good stop? It's a great stop. Where does he come out, though? He comes out in 13th place on the soft tyres, so we can back him right off a little bit now. So he's behind Norris, Sasahara. Where's Hyman? Hyman's there. So he's about 4.5 seconds behind. There's Schumacher. So Schumacher pitted probably the correct time there. Schumacher actually overtook Aaron. Aaron must have had a bad pit stop because Mawson's now stuck in a bit of traffic as well. You've got people like Norris. He's going to be stuck behind him. So I think this is pretty much situation same at the moment. Nothing's really changed. Because eventually Norris will come into pit, Sasahara will come into pit. Obviously, then you've got people like Newey, you've got Sardo, Palau, Falcaro, of course. Jensen, he's going to be pitting. He's going to be the first one to pit on these softs, who started the race on the softs, I should say. So watch for Jensen as Piquet. He's already stopped and he's back in front. He's just overtaken Tavetta for the lead. As we'll have a quick look at Pedro Piquet there, who's making this is a complete waste of time watching this race. He might as well just give him the checkered flag now because no one's going to be catching up to him. Van Amersfoort, they actually had a very poor race in the Black Sea, but they certainly seem to be doing all right now. As we'll cut back to Mawson, he's the one that we're sort of focusing on at the moment. He's backed off a little bit, keeping an eye on that tyre wear actually, so I'll go back into conserve the tyre temperature, I should say, and I will actually bump up Falcaro because as you can see his tyre temperatures are starting to drop, which is unsurprising because as the tyres start to degrade, it's a lot harder to keep that temperature in them. So we've got to start pushing him a little bit more, which is possibly why people like Jensen. See, look at Jensen now. See, Jensen has had to back right off. He's conserving fuel as well, whereas we're really pushing for it. So that could really benefit us if we manage to catch up to Jensen. If we can close that gap, because it's a 1.5 second gap now. But you watch out. Look at how quickly that's closing down. It's 1.4, and it'll drop even more as we get closer. But keep an eye on that tyre temperature. Look how quickly that tyre temperature is climbing, as Mawson's tyre temperatures are also quite high as well. So I'll just back off Falcaro a little bit because I don't want him burning through these tyres so that trying to get past Jensen, because then you'll be burning through him quicker, and the advantage of conserving these tyres will be a little bit wasted. So Mawson's attempting to overtake Lando Norris, so we'll quickly cut back to him now, but he doesn't look like he's doing anything, and he's losing a lot of time. He's now 6 seconds, maybe a bit more than, maybe a fraction less. What's that? 5 seconds, 5.5 seconds behind Schumacher. He wasn't that far behind before the pit stops. Aaron has dropped behind Schumacher, and he's, 5 seconds behind, or 5 seconds ahead of Mawson, I should say. So I think Mawson will still be 5th at the end of all these pit stops, but as you can see, I'm mindful of this tyre wear. Here he goes here, he's looking, he's having a look, but we can't get past him. Do I bump up the fuel to try and help him get past Norris? Maybe I do, but then he's going to get stuck behind Sasahara as well. So that seems a little bit pointless, as we just got a notification that Tictum, who's dead last at the moment, has run wide. But look at this gaggle of cars that Mawson's right in the thick of at the moment. And I really feel sorry for him, because I don't know if this strategy's really worked for him, because he can't overtake anyone. Maybe we should have flicked the strategies around, because Falcaro is, look at this, he's got the whole track to himself more or less, as Jensen's starting to pull away a little bit. So Falcaro was 13th at the start of that first round of pit stops. So when he pits for the super softs, we'll obviously see him drop. He won't be 4th anymore, but he might even improve a little bit. But we've got, what's that? We've got 18 laps to go. So do we pit now, or do we hold off? I think we hold off another lap or two, because he's got decent fuel there, so we can really start picking up the pace. When he comes out onto the softs, maybe we really amp up that fuel load. Or do we amp up the fuel load now? When we sort of think we're going to pit Falcaro, let's amp him up. And if you keep an eye on his pace is dropping off quite a lot. He's 3/10 down on his pace in that first sector. So keep an eye on Falcaro's pace time. We don't want that to drop too much, because Mawson's actually improving all the time. Norris, Sasahara, for instance, they're going to be pitting. Sasahara's going to be pitting soon, and Jensen's going to be pitting soon as well. We can possibly go round one more time. Let's have a quick look at Jensen. Jensen's not pitting yet. Jensen's going around. He's on lap 32, as there goes Falcaro just behind him. But we're not doing too bad for time, are we? Like, his pace, Falcaro's pace is still up, considering he's on worn soft tyres. He's really sort of coming towards the end of their life, and he's still keeping the pace up, which is I'm quite impressed with that. Mawson, meanwhile, he's still stuck in 13th place, but we're going to have a whole host of cars ahead of him that are going to be pitting. But he's 6 seconds behind Aaron now, so I don't think much is going to happen. So Mawson's race is effectively over, really. But keep an eye on Falcaro in 4th, which is who we're going to be focusing on, because he's going to have to start thinking of pitting soon. Now, Jensen's going to start pitting as well. Let's see if Jensen's going to pit. Is he going to pit? No, he's not pitting yet. He's staying out. That may change, though. But if you look at the tyre wear, Jensen's tyres they're coming right towards the end of their life, and what we may do is we might just start bumping up Falcaro's engine mode, his fuel burn. Let's see if we can close down on Jensen. This is critical. There goes Jensen. Jensen is just pitted. There he goes there. As Falcaro moves up to 3rd. So now we push, and we are going to pit onto the super soft tyres. Let's check park conditions. I'm happy with that. We want a fast pit stop, of course we do. Now, let's go attack mode, full attack mode. We want to close that gap. Keep an eye on this pace. He's coming to him. He's a quarter of a second up on basically what he's been doing. And if we can get it to a full second, we are right behind Jensen when we come out of our pit stop, assuming we nail the pit stop. As here we go. So Mawson's moved up to 11th, and he's attempting to overtake Gunther, but we'll cut back to him a bit later, because we want to see Falcaro. What can Falcaro do when he comes out? So watch for Jensen. Is it a good stop? It's not a bad stop, and he comes out and he's right down there in 17th place, and he's still well behind Jensen. So this has been a bit of a disaster, but Falcaro is on fresh super soft tyres, so we're going to have to back him off on the fuel burn a little bit, because he's going to catch up to all these cars, and we need him to overtake them all if he's to get everything. As Mawson's in 10th, there's still a few cars in front of him that are going to pit. So as soon as they all pit, let's flick back to Gunther then. Let's look at all these cars as Mawson's struck. So there you go. So Mawson has been freed now, and he moves up to 7th. So if we can start pushing these tyres a little bit, because you've got Daravala right behind. He's on very, very worn soft tyres compared to Mawson. Mawson's been conserving his very, very well. And you've still got like Palau to pit. You've still got Tveda to pit as well. Tveta's someone that we're going to have to be careful of in terms of time. We need to get in front of Tveda as much as we can. But Mawson sitting in 7th, he's got a whole track in front of him. Let's cut back to Falcaro. He moves up to 14th place. He's got a few cars coming up ahead of him as well. One of them is Makino. There you go. A couple of them are pitting. A few people are sort of pitting quite late, but Falcaro moves up to 12th. You've got Ericsson in front of him. Now, he's going to go to the end of the race, but he's going to be closing down on Ericsson quite substantially. As there you go. So Tveda actually came out ahead of Mawson. That's not what we wanted to see. We actually dropped a place there. That was very unfortunate. I think it was because Mawson just got stuck behind Norris, but I didn't want to overtake too much, unfortunately. I didn't want to push these tyres too much. but I can now a little bit. We've got 10 laps to go. We're at 73%. We can start burning through these tyres a little bit more, and potentially we could catch up because we're 4 seconds behind. See, there you go. Tvetta's overtaken Schumacher. So we're back to, 4 seconds behind Schumacher. That's not too bad, is it? I'm quite happy with that. But we do have to be mindful that we don't want to burn through the fuel too much. Falcaro, he's closing in on Ericsson, so we'll cut back to Falcaro. Keep an eye on Mawson's time because I obviously can't do two things at once. And Falcaro is going to be having a look here on this. After we go across the start-finish line, he's closing right in. This is for 11th place, so he's still not even in the points yet. So he's got a lot of work to do, and he's closing in. He's closing in. He's right on Ericsson's tail now. Can he have a look? Can he have a look? He had that inside line, but he's just not close enough. This is that slow sort of chicane there. He can't really do anything along there. I'm going to bump him up into overtake mode and push, push, push. We need to get past. If we can get that final point, I'll be quite happy. But at the moment, we're still just holding. And you've actually got Ticktum right behind who's closing in too. Mawson's 6th, and he's 1.7 seconds behind Schumacher. So he's closing down quite substantially at the moment to Schumacher. But I'm keeping an eye on Falcaro, whose engine mode he's gone into deficit for fuel now. But I'm also mindful of his tyres, because I don't want his tyres to get too burned out. But we'll leave him on push for now. Compared to everyone else, he's got good tyres, but he can't seem to close up. This is where the other teams start to overtake us. I expected this actually earlier on in the season. Because we're not designing new parts, we're basically just going to start falling down the field. So the fact that we went from second to first after the Russian Grand Prix was quite amazing. But Falcaro, he's closing in again. He's having a little sniff at the end of that first sector, but then can't do anything. As Ericsson's starting to get pushed back into him a little bit. Who's in front of Ericsson? We've got Jensen just in front of him. And Falcaro's got past. Falcaro nearly had a look. He's having a look at Jensen, and now he's going to nearly lose 11th place, but he just holds on to that. And there he goes. He's into 10th place. Can he hold on to it? This is critical, but oh, what a move by Jensen. Jensen just squeezed him out there. But Falcaro had a look on the inside, and he's still there, and he's back up in front. That's that corner. He's really, really good on that corner, and he moves up into 10th place, and we can back him off just a little bit now. We've got 6 laps to go. I'm keeping an eye on the tyre wear, because I don't want him to burn through it too quickly. We've also got to keep an eye now on Mawson. We've got to back him off fraction 2. But it doesn't look like, as Mawson, I take it back. Falcaro has actually slipped back to 11th now. Jensen's really, really pushing, and we might just be dropping out of those points positions for Falcaro. But Mawson is nearly half a second behind Schumacher. If we can get ahead of Schumacher and finish 5th, then I'll be happy with that, because we were 5th before the pit stop, and we'll be 5th after it as well. But what I'll do then, we've got 4 laps to go. I'm going to push these tyres as much as we can. And we'll cut back to Falcaro, who's 11th, and he's actually got Ericsson for company now. So Jensen seems to have just found an extra gear or two and started to pull a little bit away. I don't think we can really do much. Let's see if we can bump up his engine mode a little bit. Because there you go, that corner, he really closes in, and then after that he starts to struggle. So we'll bump him up again, and we'll back off the fuel load to save it. When he's right on Jensen's tail, that's when we bump it right up. As Mawson, he's still there. He's half a second. Now he's complaining. He's complaining about his suspension, and there it is there. We had very poor reliability on our suspension. He's starting to complain about it, and that's not good. And he might not even finish the race at this rate. As we're keeping an eye on Falcaro now. Got 59, 3 laps to go. Okay, we want full tyre wear. We want burn through these tyres. This is going to be a risky strategy for us, but we do need to do something. As he's moved up to 11th, so he's gained a couple of places, because he was 13th at the start of those first lot of pit stops. So it was the right choice, I think, starting on the softs and then going to the super softs. And there you go. So Mawson has just got in front of Schumacher. That is critical. But we now have to worry about Falcaro. So Mawson's up into 5th. Do we back him off? He's too far behind to do anything, really. So we can back him off a little bit. And he's got nearly a half a second lead over Schumacher. But I'm mindful, because I don't want Schumacher to come back too hard, which it looks like he might be. So I'll just bump him back up a little bit. Now, here we go. So let's start Really, really pushing Falcaro now. He's right on Jensen's tail. This is critical. He's got a little bit of fuel to burn. He's got that inside line going into that final corner, but he can't do anything. So this is on the home straight now. He's got the inside line. This has to be his. He's holding onto it, and he gets it. He desperately fought hard. That was great, clean racing between Falcaro and Jensen there. And he starts to pull away a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll keep him on that high engine mode, and he might even be able to get Mardenborough here. This is the final lap, remember. So can he do anything? He's still got one more lap to go. He's got a lap and a half to go. I'm keeping an eye on that fuel load because I don't want him to obviously go into the deficit. And he's side by side for 9th place. And does he have Mardenborough? He does, but no, Mardenborough holds on, coming into that final, like, sort of almost like a little kink in the track. And Mardenborough holds on to 9th place, but Falcaro has a whole lap to go. Can he squeeze into 9th place? It doesn't look like he can, as he's lost a little bit of time. He's, nearly half a second behind Mardenborough, but it's not over yet, as there's confirmation that PK picked up the win, unsurprisingly, 23.6 seconds ahead of Hyman in second, who has just crossed the line now. We're going to have to back off Falcaro a little bit. We're going to have to settle, unfortunately, for 10th place for Falcaro. It was 5th for Mawson in the end. He just clung on over Schumacher. 5th and 10th. It's points finishes once again. I'm quite happy with that. There's Pedro PK. Confirmation. What a fantastic performance for PK. I'm quite happy with 5th and 10th. That's sort of what I expected. 5th is actually perhaps a little bit higher than I thought. But 10th for Falcaro. Again, that's sort of where I expected him to really sort of finish at the start of the season. At the start of the season, I thought, he's not as good as Mawson, and yet he did outstandingly well and ended up finishing first in the first race and went up second in the second race. And now he's starting to back off, and I think he's starting to find his his average. We're still leading the championship, if you'd believe that. We did very, very well. As you can see, Falcaro has actually dropped down into third. Mawson stays in 5th, but if you go to the team standings, we are building a huge lead. We've got a 14-point lead over Prima Power Team now. And if we go and have a look at the race confirmation, once we get through scrutineering, of course, because there may be some penalties dished out, there's not, unfortunately. So we do finish 5th and 10th. So there, Pedro PK, Rail Hyman in 2nd, and Ralph Aaron with a fantastic performance. He finishes in 3rd. He'll be disappointed because he was actually 2nd coming up to his first round of pit stops and then dropped to 3rd. Mick Schumacher, he'll be disappointed, but that's critical for us. That result, I didn't even think about it during the race because I was so busy concentrating. But those 2 points that Joey Mawson stole from Mick Schumacher, they're critical. Because if you have a look at the other Prima Power Team, Gunther was right down there. He had a very, very poor race, and Makino had an even worse one with a 10-second penalty right at the death there. So there's the Drivers' Championship. So Falcaro 3rd, Mawson 5th. Tavetta's leading, but not by much. These front three of Tavetta, PK and Falcaro, but Tavetta and PK have been on a whole different planet these last 2 races. So I'm not too surprised Falcaro slipped a bit behind. And there's the team championship. We're leading by 14 points, if you'll believe that. Van Amersfoort, of course, that's who PK races for. They're up into 3rd. Down in the bottom, you've actually got 2 teams. You've got High Tech and Artline stuck together on 18 points. And that's the halfway point of the season now. And we're still leading this championship. That 14 points, I'm expecting that to diminish, especially after today's performance, a 5th and a 10th. It wasn't great, was it? Whatever, we'll just have to wait and see, won't we, for the next race. And the next race, I believe, is in Portugal. We'll have a quick look once this eventually finishes loading. And there you go there. So Mawson wasn't very happy. He actually lost a little bit of morale there. But other than that, it was basically improvement across the board. So Mawson's morale is quite low, which is quite interesting. And he's lost his phone. He just lost his phone, and that doesn't help either. That's why his morale's so low. I might have to tweet him on that one in real life. So say, do you realise you've lost your phone? But we'll figure that out later, shall we? Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you pop a big thumbs up on there and consider subscribing if you haven't. And I've actually just started up a Facebook page as well. Look for AussieDucker in Facebook and make sure you like it because I do post the links to these YouTube videos when they get released, and also any sport cool things that I see, mainly sports related, they get posted on there as well, and we can build up a little bit of community. How about that? And I'll talk to you later for the next race. Actually, where is the next race? I don't even know. The next race is in Doha. There you go. It's in Doha. Thanks, guys.